Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday, where it's casual conversations for serious workflows, brought to you by schoolofbookkeeping.com, where it's all about learning QuickBooks your way. And as that intro video was playing, I was stumbling over remembering an extra link that I wanted to before we started. I wanted to share another link, and I was reminded by Blake talking about the earmark. That's what I wanted to what I wanted to share was the School of Bookkeeping channel on Earmark. We have quite a bit of previous workshops that are available for CPE credit. You can always just pop over to the Earmark channel and review any of the previous workshops that we had if you want if you need CPE credit. So we do have that channel there. It's up there in the corner. Trying to do my Vanna White.
And a lot of people need CPE credit. I do.
Yeah. So, hi Rachel, how are you? It's good to have
I'm
you back.
good. I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. So, I was this topic is very topical because Rachel and I were actually digging into the audit log inside of QuickBooks Online to try to find some breadcrumb trails of what actually happened. So I'm like, hey, this should be we should update this because I was looking at the courses and lessons that we do have on School of Bookkeeping, and they stand to be updated. So
yeah, and there's that. It's so funny because it's like you don't really think about it until you need it, and then it's you really want to know everything about the audit log and all the things that they've potentially changed.
Yeah, and the audit log is one. This is one of those features that gets the nod for QuickBooks Online over QuickBooks Desktop because there is an audit trail in QuickBooks Desktop, and it's a report, but it's really focused solely on transactional history, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to see the prior state of a transaction and its current state, that's what the audit trail really allows you
Mm-hmm.
to do. And we'll talk about some of the things that the audit log does in QuickBooks Online that the QuickBooks audit log or audit trail, I got to keep them separate because they are called differently, different things. Desktop audit trail, QuickBooks Online audit log. Because there's a lot more events and activities that are actually recorded in the audit log that you find useful. So I wanted to start off by asking you, Rachel, what are the practical applications for the audit log? What do you use it for in your practice?
Well, I would probably say the first thing that comes to my mind is when there is a mistake. So that would probably be the first relevant and immediate thing that I would say is when a mistake has been made and or brought to my attention, usually from a client. They'll say, "Oh, hey, I just went in and saw this. It looks weird. It looks different than what I thought. What happened?" Or I was expecting to see something and it's not there. I know it was there before. What happened? The first thing that I'll do is because a lot of what we do is troubleshooting, right? So a lot of, and the first thing I'll do is I'll go in and I'll look for that. There's a few places I'll look, but audit log is usually the first place that I'll look. The second thing that I'll say, and I'm just saying two things. The second thing that is, rather than just looking for a mistake, is when I need to look to see why there's a difference in a time period. And so in that situation, I'll kind of start with the audit log and I'll, hunt and see what happened. It's not necessarily I'm looking for one transaction to see what's missing. It's really oftentimes I'm either looking for a mistake or I'm looking for a story. And in that situation, the audit log will help me piece it together.
Yeah, I always would explain it when people would call in, when people would come and call into Intuit or support. You're almost like a police officer coming to an accident scene
Yeah.
section, right? As especially as things like cleanups and things like that you do inside of QuickBooks. You're you come to the scene of the crime. Not saying that people are embezzling or doing
Yeah.
things illegal, but you come to this um, event, right? And you're okay. Well, how did that car get up in that tree?
Yeah.
Or how did it spin around? You're trying to piece together like how this actually took place. In the audit log is one of those tools that
Mhm.
allows you to get some clues, right? You're measuring the skid marks. You're doing things
Yes.
that you can do forensically to try to piece together. And it's very useful to do that because of all of the things that the audit log um, contains, right? But basically, in a nutshell, it's who did what when,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So if you're looking for to find out who did something, the audit log will tell you that. If you're looking to find out what happened, the audit log will tell you that. And if you're looking to see when things happened, the audit log will tell you that.
Yeah. Although I
So,
do have an asterisk for the
yeah.
you find
However,
the who, you
yeah.
find the when. The what can be a little trickier because you can see that this happened, but you don't necessarily know what, like you can see that something was changed, but you don't know from what to what.
Yeah.
And so that can be tricky sometimes. So I actually really love the audit log because I love forensic accounting. I love investigating. I love figuring out what happened and putting something back together or recreating something. And you are really good at it because we've done some searching and the audit log along with some other stuff. Oh man, like you're unstoppable. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little caveat
Yeah.
because there are the audit log isn't going to tell you everything,
Yeah.
but like I
Yeah.
said, it can help point you in the right direction, and you can kind of sort of figure out what happened. It's not going to tell you everything
Right.
verbatim, but with your investigatory skills, you can kind of piece it together.
Let me go ahead and share. Whoops. Wait. Oh no. I have my things backwards. Hold on a second. I had to move my second monitor over to the other side to make it look more natural as I'm looking at it.
Oh.
but it's reversed, so my mouse is I have to do it backwards on the mouse. Anyway, and you bring up a good point that this segues nicely into the limitations of the audit log of what you can't find, right? So to your point, current state, it's going to look at the current state of affairs, right? So
Yep.
if you're trying to look at the history of a transaction, right? Like so the biggest use case I think that people use the audit log for is troubleshooting the opening balance of when they go to reconcile, right? Like, oh, I'm going to reconcile and the opening balance is not what it was last month. What happened, right? I need to find out who did what when. So I will turn to the audit log to do that because it's based on the current state of affairs, right? It's not going to pick up or be able to search for things that were in a prior state before, right? So when you're using it to troubleshoot the opening balance of a bank or credit card account, and the result was it got edited to something else or moved or changed or modified, it's the last instance of what it was, but that's obviously not what it is today. Finding that in the audit log is going to be considerably challenging because it's it's not going to tell you what changed, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, like in the equation, you still have to solve for X. It's
right.
going to give you, maybe A, B, and Y, but
Right.
you still have to figure out. And like, I'll give you an example. This is something that we did the other week. We realized that one of the prepaid accounts on the balance sheet was different. Like, and we know that in the prior month the balance was this, and now all of a sudden the February balance was something else. And so turned out that we had changed a product service item that was pointing to a prepaid to something else. So it threw that balance off, right? So we can see who changed it, when it was changed, and what it was changed to. We just don't know what it was changed from. So
Right.
you get most of the variables, but you still have to kind of like have a brain and go, figure it out and piece it together.
So I'm sharing this article, which we've compiled and have similar things and resources in School of Bookkeeping as well. So if Intuit blocks or changes this article, we'll still have it for posterity. But um, here's some things that what you'll learn about in the audit log: the date of any change to your books, the name of the user who made the change, the type of change that was event, the name of any customer or vendor related to the change, and the original transaction date and amount. So a lot of information
Yeah.
available there. And then oftentimes I've seen some posts on Facebook or social media asking about these users that aren't in their books, right? So you'll see some entries in the audit log that you didn't do, right? So we want to talk a little bit about these extra ones, and you kind of alluded to that when it's a change, right? So online banking administration is a user that's created by QuickBooks, uh, obviously for online banking. So when transactions are downloaded and or added by a rule, the user that's associated to that will be Mr. or Ms. Online banking administration, right? So if you ever see that user entered in there, you'll see that, or that will be the name that would be associated with it. Support representative is another one. Clearly, that's when you're talking to Intuit. They have the ability to go into your account. Of course, they don't do that without your express permission, and they'll make some changes. Like oftentimes when you have um, payroll corrections or something like that, where they have to escalate the case and they make those changes on your behalf, you'll see that user in the books. Um, the important thing is that every change that is happened or happening in QuickBooks will be there, right? So it is a really good uh, breadcrumb trail of where to start, right?
Yes,
uh,
definitely.
sys- System administration is kind of like a blanket user that's for a lot of reasons, and it talks in here: if you made a change and the change affects another record, for example, if you edited a payment and link it to a different invoice, you may see system administration event for a change to the original invoice, right? So that's not something that you edited, but you caused it
Yeah.
by doing that action, but it needs to make an edit, and that edit needs to be recorded in the audit log. So you'll see the system administration doing that. This second one, I wasn't 100% sold on this as being the total answer, but you connect a third party app to QuickBooks when the third party app sends data to QuickBooks, or when it makes a change to your existing data, this appears as system administration.
Mm.
I've seen it with, depending on the app, and I'm sure that has something to do with the API and what app and how it's connected. But I've seen the user who connects the app be listed in the audit log when those events actually take place. But
Oh, that must be why I saw my name in a historical thing one time. I was like, I was not in their books in 2021. Like, that's
well, there you go.
okay. 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 Okay.
So it's not always going to be system administration, but you may see the user that connected said app as the person that done it. It's like, I know I wasn't up at 4 in the morning doing
Yeah.
doing these
Okay.
changes, but you may see it's going to depend, right? So this is the
Yeah.
it depends answer, but you could see the user that connected it or system administration as those types of events. You create a recurring transaction, such as a recurring expense. When QuickBooks automatically adds the instance of the transaction to your books, a system administration event appears in your audit log. So, again, that's something that the system is doing.
Hmm.
You set up other events to happen automatically when you're not signed in. For example, a system administration event may appear when there's an update to your bank
Mm.
feeds. Now, I would expect that to be online banking administration, but that
Yeah.
you may see you may see a mixture of that. And then the last user is import administration. So this is shows an automatic change related to the conversion of your data from QuickBooks Desktop.
Mm.
So
Okay.
um, those are the extra users that you'll see here. So let's pop over into my demo account here, and we'll just kind of walk through some of the new and improved options here, but of course, covering the things that you probably could do or realized already, right? So you can filter the audit log. This has undergone, quite a renaissance over the latest last few months or so. And you can start to filter this. And one of the things when I was working at Intuit was kind of a downside of all this is it didn't allow you to search for transactional dates, only the date that something changed, right? Because those are the events that are showing up in the audit log is when something changed. Now you can actually put in the transact search for the transactional date as well, right? So this is
That's really nice.
yeah, it's a way to make like a Venn diagram of, honing in on exactly what it is that you're looking for, because as you can see, um, it's a pretty daunting log because of everything that's in there, right? So you have all these events, and I just want to kind of comb through some of these events, right? So
Yeah, and
all
I have gone
transact
through there like line by line by line sometimes.
yeah.
It's bad.
So all events, of course, is the default filter for anything that changed. So you're going to see all of those things, right? So let's just kind of comb through and define some of these events here. So all transactions. So anything that has to do with a transaction itself, you can filter and exclude everything else, right? So if you're looking for, what you can't do is you can't search for specific transactions. So if you wanted to look for invoices that were edited or modified, well, sorry, you can't. um, Budgets and forecasts. You can search for just events that have to deal with budgeting. Forecasting is only available in QuickBooks Online Advanced, so you wouldn't see that as an event to choose from if you're not using Advanced. Data exchange. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but I would assume it's a
I don't
you
know
know
either.
data coming in or out of QuickBooks. This is really nice that the deleted voided transactions event. So when the event is deleting or voiding a transaction, because a report is not going to help you with any of this if the transaction was deleted, but at least if you know it was deleted, well, then there's your answer, right? Lists. Whoops. Lists is, why don't I just click on them instead of just, let me go back to data exchange. Do I have any? Oh, yeah, I do. Okay. Oh, oops, I have, well, this is new. You can
Oh,
select
and
multiples.
yeah, you can select two at a time. It looks like you
All
don't
right.
have anything for
I
data
don't have
exchange.
anything. Let me just make sure I look for um, the last 7. No, I have no data exchange in the last 7 years in this demo company. Okay. So it doesn't tell us what it is. All right. So then with lists, this is anything that has to do with any list that's in your QuickBooks. So if you don't know what they are, you can all go to the gear and go to all lists, and that will list all the lists. Right. And to access the audit log, that's of course the gear, and then going to audit log here under the tools, or use your favorite bookmark in Right tool.
Oh, okay.
Permission
So
changes.
I just looked it up. So
Okay.
in QBO, data exchange transactions generally refer to the transactions that are created, modified, or imported through integrations or apps through either connected apps or QuickBooks API.
Got it. So any app that you might have connected that pushed data to it, that'll be listed there under that event. Permission changes. This is if you've gone in and changed user and created a user or changed or edited their permission. This would give that as an event there. Reconciliations. This is of course going to be any time that you reconcile a financial account will be listed there. Recurring templates. That would be any recurring transaction event that you're wanting to look at. Revalued currency. If you're using multi-currency and you revalued the currency, that will be listed there. Sales form customizations. So anytime that you modify the invoice or sales receipt template, that'll be listed there. Settings. Anytime you changed the preference. So
This is really cool.
That is a great one to filter for, because like especially when you have that who, why did it happen? Well, you change your settings, and
I mean, this is really helping you really filter out pretty much everything else, and you can really hunt for what you need.
Signing in, signing out. Every time that as you can see, that every time you sign in or sign out, that will be listed as an event. So if you see somebody burning the midnight oil when they shouldn't be, maybe that's something to look into. Statements. Anytime that you create a customer statements. Time events. That is when you're entering in time activities, not just it's 5 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? That's not the case. Sales order. This is something that we talked about with Matthew on with Commerce and QB Commerce. There's now an option for sales orders. So if you're doing something specifically with sales orders, you can look at those. So this is now getting into the next level of the audit log of being able to choose specific types of transactions. And then we have projects, and then manual elimination. That's probably not a great thing to see in the audit log, but that's dealing with fixed assets. So when you eliminate a fixed asset and you want to see that as specifically as an event, you can filter for that. So a lot of things that you can filter for here in the audit log, because the most that you'll be able to see is 500 events per page, and this gets into some of the other limitations here. Is, well, what can you do with all this when you see it? So if you were to export this, as I'm clicking on it and it's just spinning on me, it does create a CSV of the event or of the audit log, which is over here, and I'm going to go backwards with my mouse. There you are. It does create a CSV, but and this is actually the entire audit log. So
wow,
that was new. So this is good. So that was one of the feedbacks about this, is that when you do print the audit log, it only prints the page that you're looking at, which the maximum you have is 500 entries, and there's 5,804 of them. If you do click on that export icon, which is this little icon here, it does export the whole thing as a CSV. So you can then filter within Excel, or search for those events to at least get the actual event that you're looking for. It doesn't give you like the history here. So if on the audit log you have this view, right? So this is create a sales receipt. If I want to go look at that, it will take you to the audit history of that transaction, which will give you an event for every time that transaction was modified. In this case, it's only once, right? So you can only see. I mean, you can see every breadcrumb trail will be listed here on the right side if you have more than one edit, and it will also highlight the differences between the current state and the state before it. So that again gives you more insight as to who did what when.
Yeah.
Now, we noticed that there was an issue with the date changed filter, that you cannot choose all dates, right? You can choose a custom date. You can choose today, yesterday, this several, dynamic drop downs, but there wasn't one for all dates.
Why do you think that?
Well, I think it has to do with the amount of data that's in there. So the best we have is last 7 years, which I didn't realize was an option when we were troubleshooting it together. So last 7 years does give you quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which is in line with your your IRS record keeping.
Yep.
Should have the last 7 years of information there. But you don't have this option for all dates, but last 7 years is pretty good. But it's not at the top like all dates. This is one of those nuance things that are just kind of maddening about QuickBooks Online, is that the date, the calendars aren't consistent, right? So you have this calendar here, right, which has this flip through, and then you have this calendar over here. Why do they not look the same on the same screen? Somebody is in control or managing this calendar that doesn't talk to the guy that handles this calendar.
Yeah.
But at least the calendar's there.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they have date modified and transaction date is huge.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that now you can use these 2 date filters to hone in on the audit trail to see, okay, if this change was done, and this comes in really handy for reconciliation things, right? Because you reconcile on a certain date. So if the opening balance is wrong, or it was right the day that you reconciled, you can see that from your reconciliation report. You can run this audit log for changes since that day.
Yes. Yep.
And then look for transaction dates that were prior to the date of the last statement, right? So, that just makes it allows you to hone in on the common usual suspects, right? Because if it matched, or if it reconciled on May 10th or March 10th, for example, for February, then the change happened since March 10th.
Yep.
But the date range of the transactions are, could be, ideally it would be from February 28th. We're not in a leap year. Yeah. Prior to that, right? So you can get really specific in as far as the transaction dates, and then you can also put an amount, right? So if you're looking for a specific amount, you can put a range of amount, or if you're looking for one amount, you can put that in the from and the to, and then you'll get that here. So those are the is this no?
That's from Right Tool.
Yeah, this transaction date filter.
That's not a QBO feature.
Okay.
That's a Right Tool feature.
So forget
So
what
everybody
I said
ignore
about
that.
So this transaction date filter is not a QBO thing.
No.
So if you're looking for that, then download Right Tool. Now this is a this is a filter, or this is an add-on. That this is part of the free one, so you don't have to pay for.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Time out. Are you saying all those 1, 2, 3, 4 transaction date little windows, that's Right Tool? I thought just the red thing was Right Tool.
Let me look here. I'm gonna pop over into one that doesn't have Right Tool, and we'll see. All right, so this is another. I'm gonna go here, pop in.
Yeah, I feel like
in here.
I feel like the fact that it's different, I think the whole thing is Right Tool.
Yes, you're right. So here's the Right Tool. Here it is without Right Tool.
Well, let's just be honest. That just makes the most sense that they would have developed like the most useful thing ever and added it into QBO. Yeah.
Yes. So that transaction date. So we got really excited about that, and then we realized it's not even
just
that's
our
not
Right
even part
Tool extension.
But that's what it's hard to tell, right?
Yeah.
Because it is just sitting over top, right?
So, yeah, I will say that is a confusing thing about Right Tool sometimes, is that, like you just said, it sits right on top, and sometimes it's hard to tell what's Right Tool and what's not.
So I take back all the things that I said about the dates and the calendar, because this is not something that Right Tool talks to QuickBooks about, right? Yeah. So that's why those calendars are different, and why they look differently.
So without Right Tool, you don't have the ability to search by transaction date. It's just by the date that it was modified.
So these two things of the filter button here, as well as the jump to last click, those are Right Tool functionalities that are part of the free one. So this is not something that you have to pay extra for or do anything like that.
Which I highly recommend anybody get the free version of.
Sorry, you're gonna have to look up Rachel if you want to see over top of Matthew's.
But I highly, I know Dan does too, Right Tool from Hector Garcia.
And Mark.
Please get it. I have the paid version. I cannot live without it.
It is, I think, as Hector would say, it's making QuickBooks usable again. And for just this reason, right? Just you can then use this as a functionality even better.
Yep.
So that's really just it. Kind of going through the abilities or options that you have in there. Let's see here. I just want to make sure my notes. I covered everything.
And I will say,
you want to add about
the? Try it. Like, just try using it, because that's the thing. Is like your example of the starting balance being off. I've been a reconciler for a very long time, so I can usually go in and find exactly where the issue is. But if you're not that seasoned, use that audit tool and, look to see maybe what's happening, because chances are something got deleted or went back out to the bank feed or got unmatched, And so if you're using that audit trail, it's really going to help you see kind of the bigger picture. And, all the things that, might be going on, because as we know, there's two sides to everything. One thing is usually always affecting something else. It like a domino effect sometimes. And so going through that audit log is really helpful, especially if you're, just starting to use QuickBooks or maybe not as familiar with it, and you really want to understand it in a more holistic way, take that time and go through it, because it can be really helpful.
Absolutely. It's a great tool to, again, understand who did what when, and start to fill in the clues as to how that car got stuck in a tree, um, and help you answer some of these mysteries that you're looking to solve, especially when you get a call or a text or an email in a panic,
Yeah.
saying, how did this happen? Especially when people start to want to point the fingers at how that happened.
Yeah, and especially if somebody's using product service items and they're pointing things to a lot of accounts, that's when things start to go wrong too. Is if you're using very default basic accounts and you're not really going in and monkeying with that very often, it's not the likeliness of affecting prior periods, especially in the balance sheet, won't really happen. But if you're using a lot of accounts and a lot of them are tied to product service items, a lot can go wrong. So that audit trail is really helpful.
All right. And keeping up with the updates, next week we're going to be talking about updates to the QuickBooks desktop migration, which will make a user in your audit log, as we've determined. But we'll talk about some of the changes that have taken place since the last time that we've kind of demonstrated this. So look forward to seeing you next time on the Workshop Wednesday, and we hope you all have a great day.